class. This is course 3, lesson 41, and today we're going to talk about functions. Okay, so this can be kind of tricky. There's just a lot of information that you need to know and to remember, so make sure you take good notes. A function is defined as a mathematical rule that identifies a relationship between two sets of numbers. Okay, but there's more. It is just a relationship. However, this is key. For each input number, there is one and only one output number. Okay, so there are some operations in math where you can have one input and get two outputs. This is to be a function, it can only have one output for each input. Okay, so what we'll go through today will be a function. And functions can be expressed as equations, words, tables, and graphs. Okay, so there are many different ways that you can show a function. An equation would be, if you follow the arrow over here to this box, like P equals 4S. That's a function. That's an equation that relates one number to another number. Okay, and those two numbers are the variables P and S. S, in this case, is the side length. That's your input. And P, the perimeter of a square, is your output. So if you think through that, which of those two are the items that you're going to change? You would be able to change this, your input. You change your input. Your side length is 6 inches. So you multiply that times 4, and that will get your output, the perimeter, 24 inches. Your output depends on your input. Now, another way that you can express a function is through words. And so I wrote down underneath the box here that the function P equals 4S, if you were to write that in words, you would say you multiply the input by 4. That's also what you would do if you had to describe the rule of a function. You could also say, be more expressive and say, to find the perimeter of a square, multiply the side length by 4. Okay, that's the same thing. You're expressing that relationship, that function, in words. If you want to graph the function P equals 4S, you're going to make a table of values first. And that's just a function table. It's just that you have to know which one is the input and which one is the output. Typically, the variable that's all by itself is your output, even though it's listed first. So you're going to make a table of values that is S, P. So side length and perimeter. And here's where you choose your input. So I'm going to just put choose here. And we're going to pick, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, can I pick 0? I certainly could. If I pick 0 and I have no side length at all, then my perimeter is definitely going to be 0. Could I pick a negative side length? No, actually you can't, because we don't measure anything in negative numbers. You can't have a negative side length. Okay, so we picked our side length values, or our values for S. Now we're just going to substitute these into the formula, into our function, and get our output. So if I put 1 in for S, 1 times 4 is 4. If I put 2 in, I get 8. If I put 3 in, I get 12. And if I put 4 in, I get 16. And that's because 4 times 1, and this was 4 times 2, and this was 4 times 3, and this was 4 times 4. Okay? So we made our function table, that's this, and now we need to graph. So on a coordinate plane, which you can sketch, or you can get one later and fill in the blanks. tape it into your notebook. Let me, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay. Now I'm going to change the color here. I'll put them in blue. So if I graph these are like an XY ordered pair. So this would be side length and this would be P perimeter. So I just plot those ordered pairs. 1, 4, 2, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8, 3, 12, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 4, 16. Okay, so if I start, those are okay, so that's a graph, right? Those are the points. Now, what happens is I can draw a line and it would go down to 0, 0 if you draw it to scale, because I know that that ordered pair 0, 0 is in there. This becomes a line that represents the function P equals 4s. This function is linear. It makes a line. It makes a straight line. There is no curve to it. It's linear. So if it makes a line, a straight line, it is a linear function. Okay, now functions can be proportional or they can be not proportional. Now here's the three things that they need to have in order to be proportional. They must be linear, okay, which means it makes a line. It must include the origin. So the ordered pair 0, 0, you need to be able to substitute 0 in for both of the variables and have a true statement. And it must have a proportional ratio of output to input that is constant. Okay, so if we go back, let's see, P equals 4s, and we have s, comma P, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have 4, 8, 12, 16. So I'm just taking the information that we had on the other slide, and we're going to use that here. And we'll create another function that is like y equals 2x plus 1. Okay, so if I do a table of values here, x and y, let's say we pick 0, we pick 1, we pick 2, we pick 3, and maybe 4. When you put 0 in for x, 2 times 0 plus 1, our output is 1. When I put 1 in for 2, I get 2 plus 1 is 3. When I put 2 in for x, I get 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. When I put 3, I get 7. And when I put 4, I get 9. Now, the first thing, maybe you want to graph these. You know that this one is linear, it makes a line, and you know that the origin 0, 0 is an ordered pair here. On this one, we don't know if it's a line yet. We do know though that this ordered pair 0, 0 is not a solution, because our ordered pair that is a solution is 0, 1, and each input, 0 is an input, can only have one output. So when we put 0 in for x, the only output that will ever happen here is 1. But let's look at the steps for 3, because this one isn't proportional, or is it's not going to be proportional because it doesn't include the origin. But look at the ratio here of output to input is going to be 4, and the ratio of output to input is 4. And the ratio of output to input, 4. And the ratio of output to input is 4. These are constant. That is your constant of proportionality. Okay, it's what you multiply times your input to get your output. This one, if I take a ratio, and I'm going to exclude the first one because dividing by 0 is not it's not defined. But if I take the output 3 divided by 1, I get 3. And if I take 5 and divide it by 2, I get 2.5. If I take 7 and divide it by 3, well, I can just leave that fraction 7/3. And if I get 9 and divide it by 4, I get 9/4. There's nothing constant here. So it's not proportional. Okay? So you have to remember that there are three rules or 3 steps or 3 things that need to happen. They all need to be true in order for a function to be proportional. It must graph to be a line. It must include the origin, and you must have a proportional ratio of output to input, and that has to be constant. Okay, so we've covered quite a bit today in functions, and it can be confusing. So if you have questions as you work on the assignment, please let me know. I'll be glad to help you. I will see you in class.